I moved to Orange in 2008 to be the minister of worship and music at Orange Baptist Church, and I've been here ever since. In 2017, I became the pastor. Before that, I went to seminary, and but our former pastor was retiring, and the church called me to be their pastor, and I loved that because I developed so many relationships here, and love the people and love the town. Mm-hmm. Memories of Orange, of course, a lot of them. I have a kind of a breadth of memories. Lots to do with our church and church activities, and the Christian community here, faith community here, and also meeting my wife, raising our children. I've lived on Main Street for 11 years, right on Main Street, on East Main Street. We lived there for 11 years, and we just actually moved 6 months ago. So memories of Orange, raising our kids right on Main Street, walking the streets, walking to church, walking to parades on Main Street and Route 15, and walking to the Fireman's Fair. Orange has lots of community events and activities and things that draw all kinds of ages and all kinds of people to the town. And we've loved just being right here in the middle of it all, being able to just walk out the door and walk down the street to whether it's the Christmas parade or the Fireman's Fair, whatever it might be.
Some people would call that old-fashioned.
It kind of is. I have friends, who visited me over the years, and they have kind of marveled at that. You're a lot of them ask me, aren't you bothered by the bustle of tractor trailers driving by your house and all of that? And we've just loved being in the town, and being close, to be able to do that old-fashioned stuff, walk into places and getting to know your neighbors, and so we've loved the old-fashioned feel of Orange for these 11 years. A lot of memories that I have. Again, going back to sort of the faith community, some special memories would be the singing Christmas tree. I'm sure you've heard about the singing Christmas tree at Orange Baptist Church. It's been going on for we've done it for about 37 years, but there was a 10-year hiatus in there, so 47 years or so. Althea Pace began that tradition with the choir and the musicians and the people of Orange Baptist Church, and so over and over again, when I'd come here, I'd hear people say, are we going to do the singing Christmas tree again? Are you going to do the singing Christmas tree? It was people who grew up in this town would say it's not Christmas without the singing Christmas tree. And then when we started to do it again, people would say it just makes our Christmas. People who grew up here and not a part of our church or anything, but just have valued that production, that ministry, that event that we have all come to love so much, the singing Christmas tree. So, the choir and all the musicians and all of that is just a beautiful time for Christians as we worship, but also for just the community who comes in to hear those familiar stories and those familiar songs.
You came here as the choir director and,
I did,
and organist?
I was not an organist. I play the cello. I was a cellist in school, and I'll major in college, and then choir as well. So I was a choir director, the minister of music, for a good eight years, and then transitioned to become the pastor after going through seminary. So it's right across the street at St. Thomas Episcopal Church. Some other great memories have happened there with the annual Messiah Sing. I have conducted that for many years now, and we have a 15-piece orchestra, and then people just come in and sit in the pews, and we put them in sections, and the whole place fills up with people who come to sing the Messiah, Handel's Messiah, something that we get to do kind of once a year, the Christmas portion, and that place just fills with sound as people come to sing and just revel in that beauty. So I love some of those joint efforts, of course, aside from just my role as the pastor at that church, but some of those joint efforts that the town has always incorporated into our traditions. And there's many more things like that. I've loved being a part of those things that, again, you might call it a little bit old-fashioned. If you're in a big city, even though you got so many people there connected, or whether it's Richmond, in the suburbs, you can be a little bit more disconnected. Here, people know people. Churches get together to do things together. Civic organizations get together. People from lots of different touch points. So.
Well, this program is also called Visions for the Future. So I was wondering if you could turn your eyes to the future and maybe imagine for us, how do you see the town of Orange in 10 years from now, 50 years from now, maybe 100 years from now?
One thing about the town of Orange is it's not so separated by, class or income, or you've got the haves and the have-nots living right next to each other. You go down any of these side streets, main streets, whatever, and you've got people from all different walks of life living close together, which I think is wonderful. And it keeps people from being so dichotomized and separated. And it helps people to get to know each other and become more a part of each other's lives, even though they're in different walks of life. One thing that comes to mind is there's lots of people, renting homes and renting apartments. They don't own homes. I'd love to see that ratio change to where more people are able to own their own homes, and because that is an indicator of the health of a community as well. And I think it's right around 50-50, people who own and people who rent, and I think it could be better. Visions for the town of Orange. There's some beautification stuff that's going on now, which I guess we're getting grants. You probably know more about this than I do, and I'd love to see that continue. There's lots of old buildings here. Our church is an old building. There's lots of old buildings on Main Street and some of the other places that have a tendency in a lot of towns that have come from a mill background, or where those jobs have gone elsewhere. The tendency is for a lot of these old buildings to be vacant. I think Orange and the citizens of Orange have done a good job of utilizing some of these buildings. Some of these buildings on Main Street, some of the ones on the side streets, the silk mill, lots of different buildings for different purposes. And I'd love for that to continue. I won't name names, but you go to some of these old towns in Virginia, and they look just abandoned. And I think Orange has done a good job of not letting that become the case.
Right.
And I'd love for that. I'd love for it to not just to remain the same. I'd love for it to start to flourish even more. For people to want to have their businesses here, want to bring that sort of vibrancy. People talk to me all the time about their memories of Orange, and they say, yeah, we used to have 3 department stores, we had a Leggett's, we had 3 grocery stores right here on Main Street on the town, and and they talk about that fondly, and remembering the things that you didn't have to go elsewhere to find. You could find it all here. I think as the economy changes and shifts, as culture changes and shifts, maybe people will be drawn more to small towns again, to the old-fashioned feel that it offers. Again, like I talked about, raising my kids here, riding bikes in town, but even to be able to shop local and do business local, and not have to go elsewhere all the time. I mean, we've had people move from places like Northern Virginia to Orange in the pandemic because of that. They realize, oh, I don't have to be up there. I can do my job from anywhere, and might as well have the small town feel or the country feel. Be out in the county.
Right. Anything else you wanted to add?
About visions?
About any part of it?
Any of it.
Yeah.
One memory I have just fondly was before I married my wife, I lived over on the other side of town on Landon Lane, a little house there, and I remember one of those winters there was just 18 inches of snow, and then the next week it was a foot of snow, and just one of those winters, and I remember Main Street. The town just pretty much shut down. I mean, nobody was going anywhere, and this was for a day or two. And the streets were just white, and a bunch of us were just out walking the streets and taking the sleds and going right down the streets, and going down East Main Street down towards Selma, or going up on Blue Ridge down towards Route 20. Of course, nobody was driving, so it was safe to do. And we had friends that we were meeting up with to do that sort of thing, but everybody in the neighborhood was out doing that kind of thing, and just love the neighborhood feel of Orange. In the different neighborhoods, you get that when you have trick or treating and whatever, but we've loved Orange because it's a small town that has that feel. Whereas even if you don't know everybody, everybody's friendly and treats you well. We've stayed here for 13 years. I graduated from college and moved right here. I grew up in Richmond, and folks wondered if I'd go back to Richmond, but we've, like I said, we've developed relationships that have just kept us here. We love the people and have been very blessed in that way.